Hey
And
everybody.
so this week we're gonna do the October 2nd solar eclipse in Libra, 10 degrees. And we're going to go over this eclipse and then we'll go back and forth with some nuances about what Dorje and I each want to share about it. I'll start a little with a definition as I like to with what eclipses are. I like to characterize eclipses as a time when the light of personal consciousness is blotted out from the sky, from our verse. And so it's a time where the collective tone of the moon is able to surface, thus our repressed energies. This particular eclipse is in Libra, so what we're dealing with is relationships, the social world, our connection with others, and it's conjunct Mercury, so our mind is we're mostly in our mind thinking and reflecting about the past and whether we can even see the person in front of us or the social world. And so with the eclipse in Libra, we're looking at the functionality of harmony in connection with others. And with that, I'll segue to Dorje. Dorje, you want to nuance or share or add to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's all right there. One of the things I think of when I think about Libra is like, you're trying to maintain balance through like a face of everything's okay. You're trying to be like, hey, everything's okay, and you're not trying to have the field of your experience or your life disrupted. That comes with Scorpio. Like Scorpio is a natural reaction to Libra so desperately trying to keep everything, okay by being on the surface of the phenomena. And then Scorpio comes along as the next sign. It's like, blows that apart and just goes deep into the depths in the heart. But this particular eclipse, 10 degrees, it's going to be square Mars. That Mercury and the
Mhm.
eclipse are going to be square Mars, and so it's not, you're not going to be able to hold it all together, and so you're going to be making decisions about like what are some major shifts in life that are going to be happening as a result of this eclipse. You're going to be like, well, what do I need to let go of in order to maintain my balance? What kind of things do I need to let go of? What kind of things are causing me to become unbalanced in my life? And then I need to like kind of like let go of that in order to like stay within my own harmony. This eclipse is it's Saros number 8 south. And Bernadette Brady, in her book, Predictive Astrology, The Eagle and the Lark, she says this eclipse is separation and loss. It's about separation and loss, to be parted, to be separated, to finish something, and to feel sad at its completion. So for me, like my son is going to college. He's 18. He's going to college. And to me, it's like, okay, well, that's that. I'm sad he's leaving, but I've completed something. I've raised a kid from 0 to 18. And so eclipses don't have to be heavy, even if they say heavy things. But you will notice that in one way or another, it's manifesting in your life. This eclipse isn't striking any of my personal points, but I'm still getting this like manifestation of like, okay, here's something that's being let go of. And what's really interesting to me is like these eclipses are they're 18-year cycles. So this really is spanned, this eclipse spanned the length of my son's life. Yeah, another thing though is that because this eclipse, when the initial series started in 1718, then at that point in time, then Saturn was at the midpoint between the new moon and Mars. And so Bernadette Brady says, like, if you're not careful during this eclipse, you could injure yourself physically through overstraining, through trying too hard to maintain a balance, for trying too hard to hold on to something that you're meant to let go of. So that it's not a time to like struggle. It's it's a time to recognize, like what to let go of, and then to be accepting of that. So Mauro, you might advise me if I came to you for astrology reading. You might be like, your son's going to college, no helicopter parenting, time to let go. Like you can't
Mhm.
control that boy in college anymore. He's an adult.
Right, right.
or if someone came to me, I might be saying that if, under the same circumstance. But that's kind of initially what I'm looking at. What are your thoughts? Do you have any kind of interesting things to tie in based on where the nodes are or where this eclipse is and how it's manifesting in the chart?
Yeah, sure. The eclipse is happening in Libra, so its polarity is Aries. So
Mm,
when we look at eclipses or experience them, we always have to look at the polarity because it's almost similarly as impactive. The last one
hmm
was in Pisces and it affected Virgos for sure,
Oh
especially.
yeah, yep.
And so I'll add to that yeah, it's not a time to push things. It's the time to we don't want to push matters strongly. We want to just be and not go into extremes. I mean, medical astrology wise, Libra rules the kidneys, it rules the blood sugar balance.
Mm,
So we want to keep our diet in balance and not
hmm
process our emotions through our diet or through other extremes, as you were saying, which is like perhaps the physical body, as Brady was saying. So those are aspects I would add to be aware of. The nuance of Aries and Libra is interesting because we have Libra conjuncting the south node of the eclipse in Libra conjuncting the asteroid Hecate and the north node asteroid conjuncting Aphrodite. So these are two female goddesses.
hmm
One, the
hmm
latter, which represents the crone, the wisdom, the wise elder, whereas the former represents Aphrodite represents beauty and perhaps the excess of the feminine. And
hmm
so we have a tension between these two with this tension of the eclipse and the square to Mars. So this creates for possibly more of or the possibility of illusion in the sense of seductive energies, especially with Venus just going into Scorpio recently. This creates that possibility. So is that person in front of you who they appear to be?
Mm,
Or are
yeah,
they
yeah.
someone else? Is it, are you seeing the person in front of you, or are you seeing your kind of past frame of what this type of person is to you, or what you think they are to you? So it's very interesting layers of personal relationships and expression with others in and out of relationship and in general the social world. Another interesting aspect is for me, this eclipse will be conjuncting my Pluto. Not exact, but and Pluto's going direct pretty soon,
Hmm Yep.
weeks.
Yeah,
And
October 2nd, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So right on the eclipse. So that's really interesting. I'm gonna watch that and see how that affects me. I didn't realize that till you mentioned. Um, and let's see if there's anything else to add. I want to add that you mentioned that Libras sometimes struggle or attempt is to keep things, keep a pleasant face to the inner conflict,
Mm, hmm
the
hmm
attempt to balance the scales,
Yep.
right? I want to mention that sometimes Libra actually perhaps enjoys its kind of chaos of polarity between the two
Mm,
emotional extremes.
Yep.
Sometimes
Yeah.
Libras really need that, and they
Yeah.
need to go through that kind of emotional um, balancing to both extremes before they find a middle ground or they find a balance. And so we can observe as this plays out. You want to add anything to that, Dorje?
October 11th is when Pluto's going direct, but I mean, it's basically
I love that.
station direct right now because it moves so slowly. So, I said October 2nd, but it's October 11th that it truly goes direct. So it's station. The other thing that we have station right now is we have Jupiter is stationed right now, and it's going to go retrograde right as Jupiter is going direct, and it's going retrograde in Gemini, and so that's to me that's saying like, okay, well, we're now going to kind of like review like the conversations that we've been having, and we're going to kind of like try to like really dive into what is the truth of the situation or the truth of the matter, as part of this kind of like letting go that this eclipse is going to be kind of forsaging for the next 6 months. It's like you know, a lot of dialogue, a lot of review of like how have we been thinking about things? Where do we need to make adjustments? What do we need to do to move forward? And what do we need to let go of to move forward? You know, especially with that like Capricorn stationing and then going direct. I mean, that Pluto stationing in Capricorn and then going direct. Because that Pluto's, I mean, Pluto's really just this like multi-decade clock of how your life moves forward. You know, in some ways it functions as a secondary progress chart in that way. And it's leaving Capricorn. Whatever house that Capricorn is, you've been changed over the last 20 years, you know. And now it's moving into Aquarius. And you kind of got a preview of this over the last like 18 months, perhaps, because Pluto's been in and out of Aquarius, but it's now full on to the hilt, you know. So like let's say that Pluto's in your second house in Aquarius, you know, then now you are set with like this is how you're going to work with your finances. So what do you need to let go of in order to get there? You know, or let's say it's in your 10th house of career. Well, you are going to let go of some old career identity now.
Fully.
And your next 20 years is going to be moving into that new career identity. You
Hmm.
know, so I think this eclipse isn't kind of just it's really an important eclipse to think and contemplate what do I need to let go of to move forward. You know, I feel like that's a very important message of this eclipse. Hecate and Aphrodite is really interesting to me. You know, with that, you're saying the North Node is conjunct the asteroid Hecate.
The North Node is conjunct Aphrodite, and the South
Okay,
Node is
yeah.
conjunct Hecate.
Okay, yeah. So then that South Node with the eclipse being conjunct Hecate is really interesting to me. Hecate represents the crossroads. It represents
Right.
the two paths. And it represents, okay, you're going to make a decision to move forward, represented by Aphrodite in Aries, you know, and the North Node. How are you going to move forward? Where are you moving forward to? It just ties in really nicely with Pluto there, you know. So, you know, as much as I would like consider this probably one of the heavier eclipses of the Saros cycle, I also think that like what's going on right now, it's a real big opportunity for people to make deep changes in who they are and what they're doing in their lives and to move forward.
Yeah, well said. And I want to remind everyone of the careful dance we're doing with Jupiter and Saturn of
Yeah,
expanding, but also contracting. And with
yeah.
Jupiter going retrograde, what the planets are speaking to us is, all right, step back a bit. All right, do we want to go this way or do we want to go in that direction? Like Dorje was saying with the crossroads, it's it's not just a push, push, push these next couple months. The decisions in the next 90 days are going to be around how do we want to expand? Slowing down
Mm-hmm,
expansion, perhaps a
mm-hmm,
little contraction to
mm,
reflect and reassess in what
mm-hmm,
directions we're going in. And
mm-hmm.
so just to
Good point.
underscore, the decisions that we're going to be making in the next couple of months should be around the context of not just pushing expansion, right? Just like unstoppable Aries energy, right? But
Mm-hmm,
reflection and 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 really moving accordingly, making firm decisions prior to stepping forward, or that careful dance backwards and forwards, right?
mm-hmm.
I
Yep,
wanted to
yep,
add that aspect to it. But yeah, that sounds right on with Hecate and the crossroads. That's where it's at. Libras is the challenge of making the correct decision, right? Of making decisions, even,
yep.
Libra struggle with that. That's a Libran kind of astrological conundrum, is making
Yeah.
a firm decision and not waffling, not going back and forth.
Yep, yep, yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely, and that's because I think Libra, like on one end, you know, you have Virgo, and you have this kind of um, like really pristine type of morality that comes with Virgo, in terms of like that's a motivator of Virgo. You know, it's the Virgin. It's like this like morality, and on the other hand, you have Scorpio, which is like this amoral exploration of the depths of the human soul. And Libra's weighing both of them. Libra's in between the two of
Wow.
them, and so then I think it's like, it's really interesting because that Libra, like you said, Libra isn't just like it's trying to maintain like a kind of a good balance, but at the same time, it is in between these two states. It is in this kind of like void, chaotic void almost. And it's trying to hold it all together before it kind of like I loses its grip. To me, it's like kind of like, it's like, well, like fingers on top of the cliff and about to fall into the abyss and just trying to hold it all together is part of what you get with Libra, and we'll talk about this more on the next episode as we talk about, the month of Libra that the sun represents. But
I'm gonna,
but for now, it's like, yeah, it's on the cliff, and you got to let go. Again, that feels that way. Now you said that there's, as we were talking before the show, you said that there's a particular human design gate that you found connected to
yeah,
this
that's right. Yeah,
eclipse.
thanks. I almost forgot that. So in human design, this comes under the gate 48, the well. So this is your I Ching will say,
Interesting. Sure. Yeah.
and in human design, the well is a gate connected to the spleen center, and it has to do with one's depth. It's like what the depth that one has, and how that can be brought out, how that talent can be brought out into the world if it's connected to another gate on top, which would be gate 16. So the transit of this eclipse is going to be occurring. So everyone will be looking to some degree inward at their own depths and what they have to
Hmm.
bring forward. And can they get it out? Can they bring forward their
Hmm.
talents to share or
Hmm.
to implement into, their plan of what they're doing? And this gate is a great source of wisdom, but it
Yeah.
can also feel inadequate. There's also a fear of being caught out of your depth and not being able to express it or to present it. So there's a
Yep.
fear associated with the spleen gates in human design. But yeah, that's it together. It creates the channel of talent, and so it's about talents, your skills. I want to add to what you were saying though, because that nuance was really apropos. On October 17th, we have the Hunter's Moon, and that's going to be
Hmm.
a full moon in Aries.
I see. Yeah.
So that's like that moment that Dorje is talking about where we're holding on to something, but now you have to let it go. You gotta let it go. And with and
Yeah.
with such impetus as it being in Aries, that'll be, on a full moon in Aries, you want to be active physically. You really want to be moving and moving the energy through your physical body, dancing or just some kind of movement. So it's
Beautiful.
that nuance there.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So a lot of dancing to help with the process of what this eclipse is manifesting.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of movement a lot of back and forth until the
Yeah.
decisions are made.
Yep. Yep. Cool. Cool. Excellent. Yeah.
All right, so thank you everyone. Unless there's anything else to add, we'll see you guys on the next podcast. Probably we'll do the second half of the month, all the planets going into Scorpio, kind of a research-oriented, detective-like second half of October, with all the planets, a lot of the planets moving into Scorpio. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
That's right. Hey, thank you. Take care. Good to see you, Mario.
Yeah, too.